For 950 years, he warned them. Almost no one listened. Picture giving your entire life to saving people and being laughed at every single day for nearly 1,000 years. This isn't a legend. This is the story of Nuh, peace be upon him, the first messenger Allah sent to humanity after it lost its way. Long before him, people had worshipped Allah alone. But over generations, something quiet and dangerous crept in. There were 5 righteous men their community had loved. When those men died, people built images to remember them. Just statues. Just reminders. But time passed, and children grew up seeing their parents stand before those statues, and slowly remembering turned into worshipping. 5 names the Quran records, Wad, Suwa, Yaguth, Ya'uk, and Nasru, became 5 idols. And that is how shirk almost always begins. Not with a decision, but with a drift. Into that world, Allah sent Nuh, alayhi salam. His message was simple, the same message every prophet after him would carry. Worship Allah alone, nothing beside him. And he did not say it once. He said it for 950 years. The Quran describes how completely he tried. He called them by night and by day. He called them in public and in private. He warned them of punishment, and he tempted them with mercy, telling them that if they turned back, Allah would send them rain and wealth and children and gardens. He tried every door a human being can try. Their response, listen to how the Quran describes it. He said, every time I call them, they put their fingers in their ears and wrap themselves in their garments and persist and grow more and more arrogant. They didn't just refuse, they covered their ears so his voice couldn't reach them. The powerful men of the town had a favorite insult. They looked at the people who did believe, the poor, the ordinary, the ones with no status, and they sneered. Why would we follow you, when only the lowest of us follow you? To them, the truth was something only important people were allowed to carry. For nearly 10 centuries, Nuh, peace be upon him, absorbed all of it. And here is the number that should stop you. After all that time, only a small handful had believed. By every measure a human being uses, his life looked like a failure. Then Allah gave a new command. Build a ship, not by a river, not by the sea, on dry land out in the open where everyone could watch. And they did watch. The chiefs would pass by his work site and laugh. A man building an enormous boat in a place with no water for miles. But this time Nuh, alayhi salam, didn't argue. He simply said, if you mock us now, we will mock you later, exactly as you mock us. And he kept building. Allah told him the signal to watch for, and it would come from the strangest place of all. Not the sky first, an oven. When water gushes up from the oven, that is the moment. Board the ark. And it came. He was told to carry a pair of every kind, and his family, and the believers. So the small group who had held on for a lifetime climbed aboard, and the water began to rise. Then came the moment that breaks your heart. Nuh, peace be upon him, saw one of his own sons still standing apart, and he called out to him, my son, come with us. Don't be with the disbelievers. And his son gave the answer that cost him everything. He said, I'll go up to a mountain. It will protect me from the water. A mountain. He thought high ground could save him from a judgment sent by the one who made the mountains. A wave came between them, and his son was among the drowned. The rain poured from the sky, water burst from the earth, and the two met over a people who had been warned for 950 years. And when it was finished, Allah spoke a command to creation itself. O earth, swallow your water. O sky, withhold. The water sank, the matter was decided, and the ark came to rest on a mountain called Al-Judi. But Nuh alayhi salam was still a father. He turned to Allah about his son. My Lord, surely my son is of my family. And Allah answered him with something every one of us needs to hear. He said, O Nuh, he is not of your family. His conduct was not righteous. And so the lesson lands. In the end, what tied a person to safety on that day was not blood. It was faith. A prophet's own son drowned, and a group of poor strangers who simply believed were carried through the storm. So think again about those 950 years. Nuh, peace be upon him, was never asked to succeed. He was asked to be faithful. to keep calling, keep warning, keep standing, and leave the results to Allah. He did his part for a lifetime longer than any of us will ever be given, and he never once bowed to the mockery. And that is the quiet power of his story. Your job was never to control the outcome. Your job is to hold on to the truth, do the work, and trust the one who sees every unanswered call. Nuh gave nearly 1,000 years to that. The least we can do is not give up on the first hard day. This was episode 3 of Stories of the Prophets. Next, we turn to a prophet sent to a people so proud of their own strength, they thought nothing could ever destroy them. Hud, peace be upon him, and the people of Ad. We'll see you there.